We're back on the record of the matter of Gregory Martin, case 24PR00777. All parties are back present in court. I have Mr. Luca Gorman in the witness box. We're ready to continue with, I believe, Ms. Wilkes. We were on, you finished questioning, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that brings us to Ms. Salisbury, cross-examination. Mr. Gorman, you're still under oath from this morning. Sounds like, before we start, Mr. Lee, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'd like to bring up something before the court.
Sure.
Mr. Luca is, Mr. Gorman happened to be my witness. I did a lot of research to finally get to him and have him personally served in order to be here today. And immediately after we left from this hearing, Mrs. Salisbury started tampering with my witness, asking to come down the hall to talk. I just feel it's very unprofessional. I never did any of her witnesses like that. And it's just something I want to bring to the court. Whether anything was said or not, it's just being an attorney, she knows better than that.
So anybody, I can tell you, Mr. Lead, anybody can talk to anybody's witness, okay? So there's nothing improper about Ms.
Oh, you can do that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, no problem.
There's nothing, if the person doesn't want to talk to you, that's up to the witness.
No problem. That's
There's
fine
absolutely
with me.
nothing, just to be clear, I don't know,
Okay,
to be clear, there's
No
nothing
problem.
improper about a lawyer.
We're clear. We're clear.
Attempting to have a voluntary conversation with the witness.
You're right. It's that TV stuff I got. Okay.
All right. So actually, I think so. Ms. Wilkes, you were done. I think Mr. Lead, it was your witness.
Thank you.
I have to switch gears from the other hearing I was in. So Ms. Salisbury, go ahead. You're still under oath, Mr. Gorman. Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have a couple questions. You mentioned that you had sent some payments on the. I'm gonna get the name. It's the $1.2 million. Do you remember how many you made?
I have to go look at the. Yeah, it's been 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Okay. Do you know if all those have been deposited?
None of them have been deposited.
None of them. Okay. And I think you said you'd sent 2 to Mr. Wisdom.
Yeah.
And the other 2 were to the 616 Beach.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that up. You had a lease for the rental for the items remaining in the property. Was that like was the lease basically a stay on the payment so they wouldn't start until the lease expired?
Yeah. It was basically the way we set it up was the lease was in the amount of the payments.
Okay, so were they counted as payments then for the amount of the lease?
I'd have to look at the contract.
That brings me to pretty much my last question. Do you have copies of the promissory note and other contracts with related to Mr. Martin?
I have them. Yeah.
Would it be possible at some point to get those?
Oh yeah, I don't have them here, but yes, I do have them. Yeah.
Perfect. Those are my questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rudolph.
Briefly, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Gorman, I'm the court-appointed attorney for Gregory Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have a few questions for you. How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Martin?
Well, it all started with the first purchase of the house. I think that after that worked out, I think that Greg had a lot of transactions in the past that were like with shady people, I don't know. But I think that it worked out. Everything I said I was going to do, I did. And he got his money. And I think because of that, I had some rapport with Greg. And so I think he trusted me. And I think that's why he called me later on to purchase other properties. That's basically our relationship. Sometimes he'd call and ask for help with stuff. Just things with his properties, putting up security cameras or something like that.
And so would you describe it as a professional relationship or friendship?
I would say it was more professional. I don't know how to define it exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe you testified earlier that you had asked Mr. Martin whether he had anybody to assist him with managing his affairs?
Right, yeah, I did, yeah.
Is that a normal conversation for you to have with people?
I just looked at the state of his properties and I just said, and I also was worried about, I would have been nice to have a third party in there. So I said, do you have any family members that you would trust to, come on and help you with these transactions? And he said no. He made it very, very clear that I wasn't to talk to any of his family members about the sale of his properties.
Okay. No further questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rudolph. Mr. Lee, this is your witness, so you get to do redirect again. It's limited to just clarifying anything that other people may have asked, not new territory, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
On this promissory note, did you file that promissory note with the records department to give you notice of being a debtor and my father being a creditor?
No.
Okay, so if it wasn't filed with the note with records department, how did you file that with Tinker Title Company?
I don't think I did.
Do they have notice that? Oh, okay. Let me slow it back. You mentioned that as a lien holder, it was asked earlier about being a lien holder, and you said that you had particular people that were going to buy the property for much more than what you bought the property from my father?
I don't believe I ever said that.
Okay. Did you have any potential sales for the property?
Which property?
2812 Northeast Alberta.
No.
Never.
Never.
I believe, Your Honor, before it was said that he did on the
Okay, so
28th.
Mr. Lee,
Okay.
this is one of the harder parts in representing yourself. You get to say all of that when you testify under oath.
Gotcha.
Right now,
Okay.
you're stuck with the answer. And
Gotcha.
a lot of times I'll just be honest on cross-examination.
Okay.
Most
Okay.
of the time you're going to get an answer you don't like. Okay.
Okay. And when you advertised the property for sale, how did you advertise that property?
Through a realtor.
Okay. Through a realtor. Do you know the name of that realtor?
Yeah, Maton Real Estate.
Okay. And was that the property that was the 2812? Was it put on Craigslist at all?
I don't know if it was.
Okay. About Mr. Doyle, the attorney Mr. Doyle. Did Mr. Doyle ever contact you?
No.
Did you ever contact Mr. Doyle?
Yeah, I believe so one time.
Okay. And can you give us the nature of that conversation?
I was trying to figure out what the situation was and what was going on. It was getting confusing for me since I wasn't involved in any of this. It was, this person has power of attorney, then this person, then that person. So I was just trying to figure stuff out.
Okay. And you noticed earlier we submitted into evidence the Tinker title regarding the 5105 and 5107, the Northeast 23rd. Do you notice on that did you notice on that notary stamp that it doesn't say, it says Gregory A. Martin? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Did you, how did that error become a part of the record?
I didn't prepare the documents, I'm not sure.
Okay, but my father was allegedly there to sign his signature to that, right?
Yes.
Did you see him sign his signature?
Yes.
And does that office have a camera system set up in it?
Yes, it does. And they also have his ID scanned into their system. But you'd have to ask them about that stuff.
Okay, okay. But you did notice the Gregory A. Martin.
At the time, I didn't. I noticed when you pointed it
Well,
out.
I'm just asking because on that same very date for the 2812 Northeast Alberta, they seem to have Gregory John Martin spelled out with Jon. I'm just curious. You've had these documents for a while. Did you not notice that he was Gregory John?
Nope.
Who is Gregory A. Martin?
I don't know. Maybe there was some typo. Sometimes he goes by Amar or something. I don't know.
Well, my concern is if he signed the same document the same day, it looks like we got two different signatures. Could you figure out which one was which?
What's your question?
My question was, on the same date, on February the 27th, 2023, when you took my father from your place, 2511 Northeast 8th, and you went to Tinker Title Company in Sunnyside, Clackamas, Oregon, you had these documents signed. One is signed Gregory A. Martin, one signed Gregory John Martin, and there's two different signatures if they were signed the same day. Did you notice?
No.
Would you like to look at these signatures again?
No, I'm okay.
Okay. So you're okay with what was submitted to the record?
That's what title insurance. If it was a mistake made in the title company.
Okay. The title company. How often do you use Dodie or Dorothy Irene Smaltz as your executive, or she's the
Over the last 7-8 years.
7-8 years? Do you use anybody else besides her Clackamas office?
Sure. Yeah, I use a variety of title people. Depends if I'm selling or buying or what's going on.
And that particular date, weren't you selling and buying?
Correct, yeah.
Which property were you buying?
I bought both properties, the ones that we're talking about, 2812 and 510.
Okay. So if there's any errors in the documents, you would equate that to the error of the title company, Dorothy's.
Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned also about assets or property, things that were left in my father's building on Northeast 8th, 2812 Northeast 8th, Alberta. What happened to that property after you started paying rent? You had a whole year? Was it a whole year went by you didn't have to pay because he left items in there?
Yeah.
What happened to those items that were taken from that particular property?
It was all thrown out.
Who threw it out? You?
I hired a company.
Okay, do you know the name of the company for the record?
Yeah. Well, some of I have a construction company, so I partially used them. The vehicles in the back were towed.
Told by who?
I don't remember the name, but they were improperly parked, so they put up a notice. No one had title, no one had keys to the vehicles, so they were just removed from the property.
Can you describe the properties? I mean, the vehicles.
The vehicles? Not really. I mean,
Okay. Did you ever hear of Willamette Northwest? Did you get a letter from them concerning my father's payments?
I don't know who Willamette Northwest is.
That's the counsel that's here today.
Oh, okay.
You testified that you did get something from some lawyers about my father, the payments.
Yeah, just recently, I think, in the last few weeks. Maybe.
And that would have been from Willamette Northwest?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay. Do you have the date of that letter?
No.
Okay. Any particular month? May, June, July?
It was last month, I believe.
Okay. And you did state that you didn't file any of the promissory notes with the county records department.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Has anyone else ever asked you about those promissory notes?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think I went over them with Don and Greg when he was in the care facility after he had his stroke. She called me up and asked me if I would come over there, and so I went over and we sat down with Greg and Don, and she reviewed the documents, and he said he was happy with the way everything went and he had no issues.
And do you have record of those telephone calls?
It was an in-person meeting.
In person, well, how did you decide to link up? Whether you just ran into each other? Who contacted who?
She contacted me.
Okay. So, do you have records of that at all?
I don't think so.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe via text message I might.
Okay, and have you ever had any of the properties that you purchased from my father liened by anybody?
Not that I'm aware of. There's an existing lien on Alberta from when I purchased it, the Alberta building.
And do you recall getting any letters from me from Montana at any time before this court hearing?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. Did you ever respond to any of those notices?
No.
Okay. Do you remember getting a notarized affidavit of indebtedness and a letter for payment for $3 million from some blanket liens I put on my father's property, not knowing who it was sold to?
To be honest, at a certain point, I think I just started putting it in the garbage. The
Okay,
packets.
so it's possible you could have received that notice and you just put it in the garbage.
Yes.
Okay, no other questions, Your Honor.
Right. Mr. Gurman, thank you very much for your time. Okay. All right. I believe Ms. Liberty is here. Let's resume with her testimony.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Lee, if you could have Ms. Liberty step in. Could you have Ms. Liberty
yes,
step in?
I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry.
Ms. Liberty,
Hi.
you can come on up to the witness box here.
Okay.
And since it's a new day, we'll swear you in again, okay?
Please raise your right hand. Under the penalty of perjury, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Please be seated. And for the record, please say and spell your first and last name. Okay.
Alicia Liberty, ALICIA LIBERTY.
All right, just so we're on the same page, Mr. Relieved had called Ms. Liberty as a witness. He finished his direct examination last time we were together, and then we were on Ms. Wilkes' cross-examination. I believe we just started, or maybe we hadn't even started yet. But Ms. Wilkes, this is your witness.
I didn't know I was up. I'm sorry, Your Honor, I forgot.
I can move to another party if you want to go later, if you're not ready. I'll move to Ms. Salisbury.
Okay, Your Honor.
Ms. Salisbury, your witness.
Ms. Liberty, thank you again for being here. To confirm my understanding, your earlier testimony from Thursday was that you never met Mr. Martin
No,
and you didn't purchase property from Mr. Martin.
no,
And this was your first interaction with Mr. Gorman.
yes,
Have you done any interactions since then?
no,
And you're in the process of buying fixed-rate properties and selling them?
yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Thank you, Your Honor. Hi, Ms. Liberty. I'm the court-appointed attorney for Gregory Martin. I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
So, can you remind me what the purchase price was for the duplex on 23rd?
Yeah, I purchased it for $447,000.
And how much did you sell it for?
I can look it up. I should have brought my sales thing. It was approximately, I think, like 1.2 million, somewhere around there.
What did you approximately net on that transaction?
I don't have the exact figure, but it wasn't that much after the fix-up cost and the holding cost. The house took longer to sell than we anticipated, and the market had turned slightly from the time we purchased it to when it went on. So the profit, it wasn't that huge.
Can you give us some range of what that means?
Probably 100,000 or under.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Wilkes, your witness.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi.
Was Lucas Gorman ever a contractor on any of those renovation projects?
No.
Who was the contractor?
Liberty Northwest Homes myself, I was a general contractor, and then I used subcontractors. Luca was never one of them. I've never done any work with Luca.
Who was one of the subs?
We had our framer, Adam New Framing, was an example of one. Our plumber, MB Plumbing. I mean, we have a list of subs that we use.
Who was the plumber?
MB Plumbing.
What date did you say you purchased the property?
I purchased the property on February 28th, 2023.
So that was a day after Mr. Lucas?
I don't know when he purchased it. After we talked, I pulled up the preliminary title report to see what I had saw, and as far as Luca's name and Gregory Martin's name, and let's see, February 22nd. When did I close? February 28th. It looks like that he did have the sale recorded. It looks like on the day that I purchased it is when it recorded, which that's not uncommon for a wholesaler. It's sometimes even on wholesale transactions, they don't actually even record, like they're the middleman and we close with them, but yeah.
And did you have the property, were you still in possession of that property on or about April 1st, 2024?
I can easily pull that up on my phone to see the date that it had closed. Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why I didn't think to bring the closing statement. Sorry about that. Let's see. What's history? Sorry, it's taking a minute. What was the address? 5105 Northeast 23rd. Let's do it a different way. Alright, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the one that does it. Let's see, Joe Mason, 23rd right here.
Take your time.
Click on
No
the
problem.
MLS. My phone has, it's like hard to, it's got two views on it, so it's not a real open view, but let's see here. Go down here. All right. We sold it. All right. It looks like expiration. Looks like the price we had sold it for was $1,225,000, and I'm trying to get the date, but it's not. 245299. I'll take a picture of this. I'm gonna write this one. I'm gonna search it a different way because I'm having trouble opening it the way to get a date.
We're going to have to move on.
Okay, I'll get.
So we don't have the answer. So Ms. Wilkes, the answer to the question is
If we had it in April, that was probably around the time that it sold, right around there.
April 2024?
Yes, it sold in 2024.
It sold in 2024. So
Yes.
January on, you still had, and maybe March, you were still the owner
Well,
for 24?
I don't want to say that until I for sure know. We have a few different properties, so I want to make sure I don't have it wrong.
This is relevant because I wanted to know if you received any notices of list pendings on that property from Willamette.
No, I can tell you I didn't receive anything like that. It
Did you
seems like
receive any notices from Adult Protection Service made in Hoffman?
no.
Was the electrical wiring complete?
Was the electrical?
Electrical wiring.
What's the electrical one?
Electrical wiring?
Oh, wiring. I'm sorry.
Yes.
When we purchased the home, it wasn't complete. When we sold the home, it was complete. We had to get inspections and permits through the city of Portland.
What sections were complete when you purchased it?
Well, when I purchased it, it was down to the studs. There was no working utilities on the house. The basement had been dug out. It looked like it, from talking to neighbors, it had sat empty for 20 plus years.
Do you recall how much the electrical and plumbing was on it?
How much there was on there, like in place when we bought it?
Yeah, the cost.
Oh, I would say zero cost. I mean, there was material sitting on site, like, I don't even know what material, a bunch of old stuff, and then some materials for people who were trying to do the repairs. It looked like somebody over the last 20 years had slowly been working on it and doing various things to it, but nothing had actually really been done. We had to undo a lot of things that weren't done correct.
What did you do with those materials?
We dumped a lot of the materials that were on site. Everything that was left there, we cleared out. It wouldn't be smart of us to try to reuse somebody else's materials. We like to go in and put all of our own stuff in there.
Was any notifications sent out prior to dumping it?
No, because when we purchased the home, everything that's left on the home is considered personal property, and part of what's in the contract when we buy it is that we take over everything that's in there.
Did Mr. Garman ever share with you at any time that he had given Mr. Martin a certain period of time to remove personal belongings from that property?
No, the only person that I had any discussion with on this purchase was Luca. Is that who you're talking? Is that Mr.?
Yes.
Oh, no, there was no conversation about. It was if we close on the house, then everything that's there is our personal property, which we would have rather it all been out because it cost us money to get rid of it. It wasn't anything of value to us.
Did you ever do business with the credit union in Tualatin?
No.
Who financed the property?
Objection, Your Honor, I'm not sure what the relevance of these questions are. She didn't purchase it from Mr. Martin, and I'm not sure how this is related to, like,
Your Honor,
past
the
year.
relevance of it is that it was overlooked and list pending should have been put on that property because it was a part of Mr. Martin's assets along with 28th. List pending should have been put on that because at the time was still notes owing on those properties, and Willamette law never did list pendings.
So what's the conclusion from that then?
The conclusion from that is, Your Honor, that
I should say your conclusion, your argument you're making.
they didn't do their research on.
And so therefore they're not suitable to take over. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
All right.
Your Honor.
I'll overrule the objection.
I have this pulled up real quick, what you had asked me. So it sold for $1,225,000 on April 10th, 2024.
April 10th?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you sold it April 10th?
Yes, 2024.
Okay, thank you.
And we first had it on the market November 25th, 2023, so it took about 6 months to sell. Like I said, that was quite a bit longer than we anticipated.
Thank you. So, you purchased it January February 28th of 2023,
Yes.
and you retained ownership until April,
Yes.
what was the date, April
I
10th?
think it was April 10th.
My mama's birthday.
Is it,
Yeah, April 10th.
was there a 3-day or a week waiting period to say yes or no, whether both parties agreed the sale would go through?
The party makes an offer, and then it can take a couple days for negotiating back and forth on what the sales price would be or whatnot, any details regarding the sale on the house. It's not like a loan where you sign, or I guess I shouldn't say, I don't know. We didn't have any 3-day holding period now.
Were you aware during that period of time that you were ownership, that Adult Protection Service had open investigations on all of Mr. Martin's properties?
Yeah, I had no idea of any of this. Had I known this, then I certainly would have checked this out a little bit more. I was clueless to all this.
You were never notified then by Willamette Law or Adult Protection Service during that period of time?
No, I had no idea anything was happening.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Liberty, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Clarifying, and maybe I just missed it. You said you purchased the property 5105 and 5107 Northeast 23rd on February 28th, 2023, is that?
Yes, February 28th, 2023.
Maybe you can help me then, just help educate me.
Yeah.
Because there's an exhibit here, OW-G as in George, that indicates that Mr. Martin sold this same property to Gorman Bills, I presume it's Luca Gorman, who was just in here, on the same day. Is it unusual to go from one buyer to another buyer on the same day in your business, I guess?
Yeah, no, it's not common at all to do that. And like I had mentioned,
It's not common to do that.
No, it is.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, sorry, it is common. Actually, a lot of times when a wholesaler, which Luca was, he found this property and then advertised it for more and is kind of the middleman and makes some money. A lot of times they don't even record on the property. So, like, if somebody has a property that's going to be like a pre-foreclosure or whatnot, and one of these wholesale companies goes to them and says, "Hey, I'll offer this much for the house, and buy you out of it. Would you want to do it?" Then they would reach out to people like us who fix homes up and want properties that are in bad shape and can fix them up, and say, "Hey, I'm selling this for such and such dollars. Do you want to close on it?" And then we go to the title company. And at that time, the original homeowner does still sell, and then we sign, where the wholesaler, it's just usually like a net proceeds on the HUD statement showing what they got, where they actually didn't even record on the transaction, if that makes sense.
So in this case, yeah, this is an education for me.
Yeah. No,
in this case would be Luca Gorman.
Yeah, so it's very common to see things record the same day, or yeah, that's not uncommon.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any follow-up questions to what I just asked?
No.
Mr. Lee, only follow-up to what I just asked. Is that what you're asking?
Do I get her back on my round?
No, there's no more rounds. I asked a question. Do you have any follow-up to the question that I asked? That's
Yeah,
it.
but I'm not supposed to get her back to talk about what they talked about?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. A lot of parties, and
Yes,
you're right.
okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
No problem.
So, it's your witness, redirect again just to clarify things, not to do new things, okay?
Okay. You mentioned you're a general contractor.
Yes,
Do you have a construction contractor board license?
I do.
Okay. What is that license number?
It's 189357.
And how long have you been a registered CCB contractor?
I think the license was first pulled in 2008.
Okay. And back to that February the 28th. So you're saying it's common practice to, once my father signed over the property to Luca, he sold it to you the exact same day.
Yeah, it's not uncommon.
What time was this transaction?
Oh gosh, I don't I don't know
Are we
the
talking about
exact
a morning
time.
or is this an afternoon?
I don't recall what time of day it was that we closed on this. It was
Now,
over a year ago.
you did get a break from being on the stand, and the court gave us a day diligently to
Yeah.
prepare. So you came back without any information about 5150 or 5170 Northeast 23rd? I mean, we were asking questions when you left.
Yeah, 5105 and 5107, Northeast 23rd, I did come back with information. I came back with the preliminary title report, which is one of the things that you were asking about if I saw that if your dad's name was on it, so I did come back with that. And I also came back with the final buyer statement when I closed on it. What I didn't come back with is when I sold it, because I don't know how that even pertains to any of this. So I did come back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing that information with the court? Can we take this into
You certainly can.
evidence?
I'm not sure what are we doing again?
It's a preliminary title report, which is a report that I get from the title company that shows if there's any liens against it or anything that I need to be cautious about on purchasing it. One of the questions that this gentleman had for me on whenever I was here was if I had any record of his dad's name on the title report, and I couldn't recall if I did or not. So I called the title company, got a copy of that title report. So it has that, and then just the closing statement showing what I bought it for and when I bought it and who I bought it from.
So, Mr. Whitley, as I understand it, you're asking for these to be marked as exhibits and admitted?
Yes, because she did take the time to bring those to the court. What we're looking for really is, we just found out today that the property was purchased on the same date that it was sold, which to me is kind of interesting. But if someone's bringing follow-up information, I think it's the integrity of the sale and the state of my father and the research of what.
So what I'll have you do, Mr. You're okay giving these to
Yeah.
Mr. Waleed? Mr.
Yeah.
Waleed, if you could come take those, and then if you could show them to the parties, and the parties can let me know if they have any legal objections.
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Have any objections, please?
I'm sorry, no objection.
No objection.
All right, Ms. Wilkes, will you take a look, please?
Yes. No objections, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go ahead and mark this as OW, and what letter are we up to? I is an item that will be received into evidence without objection. We're going to actually mark them as two different ones, as I recall. So the preliminary title report will be I as an IDA. And what was the other one?
The closing statement.
Closing statement will be marked K as in King. Or J as in John.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Relief, any further questions for
Yes,
this
I do.
witness? All right, go ahead.
So on February the 28th, the same day my father signed the property, you did mention, I think, on testimony that you usually take a few days to analyze the property, etc., or is it that the price was so good that you decided to purchase right away?
February 28th is the day that I closed on it. Don't recall the day that I first saw the advertisement for it. On these deals, you don't typically get an inspection period to do your due diligence because they are priced usually pretty aggressively. So it's purchased as is with the personal property inside the home. A lot of times people's belongings are left in there in bad shape. So yeah, I don't recall the day that I went in, found it.
Okay, and what day was it that you said on your earlier testimony a few days ago that you found it on Craigslist?
That's what I don't recall what day it is. I don't know if there's a way to look on Craigslist. I can look and see the purchase contract from Luca. I don't have, I can pull that up and see what day that is.
Okay, but was there a third party involved in the sale of the property to you, or was it you and Luca direct?
It was me and Luca direct.
Okay.
And so I'm assuming what it was is Luca had negotiated the sale with your father, and at that time then went into advertised it as selling it, which is pretty common how that works, and then at the title company upon closing is when everybody signs and records.
Okay, and how many days before you did your due diligence, before you purchased the property on February the 28th, did you go over and look and evaluate the property?
We did do a walkthrough. I don't recall what day it was, and there was nobody even there when we did the walkthrough. I think there was a basement door that maybe was unlocked, or we were told was unlocked, so my husband and I walked through and took a look at it.
Is your husband your business partner?
He is a member on Liberty Northwest Homes. I'm the sole owner.
On the LLC,
Yeah.
okay, okay. And so you and your husband visited the property, a week, 10 days prior to purchasing it?
It probably was within a week. Usually closings are within a week.
Okay, and so you're saying in front of the court you had no idea that the property was sold other than after you purchased it on February the 28th?
What do you mean that it was sold?
Meaning that my father just allegedly, according to Luca, signed these documents. There's a mismatch with particular names, but that's not the issue question.
Mm-hmm.
My question to you is, you purchased the property on February the 28th, 2023,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
What is the procedural process to quickly purchasing a property? I mean, how did that happen? You're educating me too. I've just never seen a deal done that day through a title company the same day.
The process, it's a little different than when you have like a typical loan at a bank that takes a while where you have to do an appraisal and all those sorts of things. On these type of deals, you go into contract, you say you want the house, sign a contract. At that point, usually before you go into contract is when you do your walkthrough. So once you do go into contract, then it's a deal, and then you go to the title company and you give your earnest money, or actually we gave earnest money to Luca. Then they pull a preliminary title report, and that shows us what potential liens are against the house, and if there's any concerns or anything. Nothing showed up on the title report. And then at that time is when we record, after we turn our money in. So you can close on a deal in a matter of a couple days.
Okay, but this wasn't a couple of days, right? This was done the same day.
It recorded the same day.
Okay, what bank financed the loan?
We do private money lending, and so it's a bank called Wasatch.
And was there a note from my father to Luca on the particular loan, or was this a single property, or were two properties involved?
No, this was a single property, and it was a loan just against this house, and it didn't have Luca or your father's name on it. It was between me and our private investor.
To pay the purchase price of $447,000.
Yes.
Okay, so there were no liens at all on the property when you purchased?
We can look at the preliminary title report and see. I don't believe it. I'll have to look at the preliminary title report and see.
Now, is that the same?
Well, actually, no, there wouldn't be any liens because Luca would have already paid off those liens because it wasn't between me and your father. The deal had already recorded between Luca and your father. So any liens that may have been there previously had already been taken care of out of Luca's proceeds. And that's not anything I would have been privy to.
Okay. Thank you for that question. One other question for you. Since you didn't receive any notice or any idea when you owned the property as far as in April of 2024, were you aware that a list pendants was placed on several of my father's properties? Of course, you own the property. Were you aware of that?
No, I wasn't aware of any of this until I received a packet in the mail within the last few months that we were talking about that had all these allegations. That's the first time I've ever heard anything about any of this.
Okay. And on November, I think you might have answered this, on November the 15th, 2023, or shortly after, do you remember receiving an affidavit of indebtedness from me concerning my father's property located at U and Trace D Liberty? Is that your husband?
That's my husband. I don't remember receiving anything like that.
Okay, so if you would receive it as a notarized document, affidavit of indebtedness out of the state of Montana for fiduciary Alicia Liberty, and it was demanding payment for having alleged some lack of due process or interfering with my father's private contracts between him and I.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Okay, and then at the same time would have been sent with that notice by mail, would have been a demand letter for payment for $3 million. Do you remember seeing that?
No.
Okay. No other question, John?
You have my old address, by the way, so I think that could be possibly what's going on, and nothing's been or I have to sign for it or anything. It's just been regular standard mail.
Is your address 17847 South Hidden Lake Drive, Oregon City?
Yes, that one is.
That's on there, as well as 16542 Southeast Orchard View Lane in Damascus, Oregon?
Yeah, that's our old property address.
Okay, but the 17847 Southwest Hidden is the business property, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Liberty, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
time. I was over 2 days. You are free to go. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Willie, how many witnesses do you have?
I've got one and then myself, but it's going to take a few minutes, so I wouldn't mind having a lunch break.
So we're going to go ahead and take a break for lunch. For scheduling purposes, it looks like we're resuming here at 3 o'clock. You may be able to set up as early as 2:45 in here. Mr. Willie's outside. Mr. Willie, I was just saying, we're resuming at 3 o'clock. You may be able to set up in here as early as 2:45.
Okay.
You're welcome to leave your things in the jury box.
Okay.
Just so you know, we do have people coming in
Okay,
at
gotcha.
1:30, and if you want to take it with you, that might be a good idea too.
Okay.
It's up to you.
No, I'm
So,
fine.
Mr. Willie, for scheduling, you have one more witness?
Yeah, one more witness
And then yourself.
yes, and then myself.
Okay, and then.
And then we're going to give
we're
Mrs.
gonna-
Wilkes.
We're going to take up the 3 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, the motion. I'm going to review the materials and give my decision. Hopefully after lunch is my plan, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. See you close to 3.